maxes the heal as we do finally jump into Champions League, but we've seen people going a little bit more aggressive. The pulverized max is coming in, and I'm like Papa Smithy. I really like it because it turns what normally is a let's survive the lane into a very big kill lane threat.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens here in our draft. Will we see silver bans? We'll have to find out soon. LGD actually going to ban 2 junglers away, so Gragas and Rek'Sai taken out. Cassiopeia banned by M3. Nunu's going to join the pile there as well. So a lot of junglers. That's 3 actually already. 3 out of the top 4 junglers that we normally see have already been taken out.
Yeah, and I like the response of the Nunu ban. I actually think that's because they took 2 away, because Condi, he's being shoved onto a Lee Sin pretty much here. And if they had have taken Nunu on someone like TBQ, all of a sudden, his day would have just been a complete mess, because as an AD jungler, someone like Lee Sin, you'd very much struggle to deal with the likes of Nunu.
I mean, it's weird as well because both of these junglers have shown, I would say, relatively shallow jungle pools. So, I mean, the jungle in general is very top-heavy, especially in this particular metagame. So, I don't know what we're going to see with this many jungle bans, but Vladimir banned out there by LGD. That's a respect ban to Dade and M3. I think they're thinking to themselves right now, do I really have to ban Sejuani?
Yeah, Sejuani, do they have to take away the Orianna? Something along those lines. Varus saw a couple of games. Please don't ban Bard. But yeah, I like what you're saying around the Sejuani, because all of a sudden, if Sejuani's off the board, Hecarim takes a hit. Acorn there getting that ban. Surprised, because Lupa has been playing a lot. And right now, it looks like they nearly do have to first pick the Sedge.
I mean, Acorn does play a lot of Heck as well. It's very powerful. Kalista is open and actually picked away there. So Imp wants Kalista. He rarely gets it. So he relishes the opportunity to take it away.
Yeah, and that's like a gauntlet thrown directly at SMLZ. Urgot is available, and that's what we see is maybe the counter coming through a lot. They get Urgot as well as this front line so far. That is an extremely tanky lineup. All of a sudden, Dade can play something like the Cassiopeia in the mid lane, and they have more than enough damage as well. So I think M3 currently sitting very pretty, because you are not getting resets off the rend with that current team.
That's the nice thing as well. They don't even have to pick Urgot right now, because Godby could play it, but it's unlikely. So Alistar, Sejuani, massive frontline. Not quite now Sejuani. That's maybe the other popular 2 picks on red side, but TBQ's forced to hover Lee Sin. He looked at Evelynn briefly, and again, the jungle pool's been completely shredded, but they'll save it for now. It's Maokai and Thresh, their next 2 picks.
Yeah, I like the Maokai pick up here, and you see SMLZ insta-lock, probably calling it for it first round. They didn't give it to him, so he's like, I will pick it myself, thank you very much. But Maokai, if Dade does something a little bit unsafe here, then it is going to be very easy to track him with the Maokai and lock him down, do a lot of damage. But wow, that is a tanky lineup coming through right now.
This draft is insane from M3. I mean, any of these 2 champions that you see on the red side, most teams will be happy to first pick. You just randomly pick 2 of them. They'll probably take them here. So their draft is already looking great. Azir's open, by the way. That's the other big champion that's been left open with Cassiopeia banned away. LGD might just give it away if Dade wants to play it. I don't know if it fits into their lineup, but they are so much CC. They're so tanky, and Dade's going to get a counter pick here. I don't know what LGD's plan is right now. They're hovering a couple of champions. Godby seems to want to play Varus once again. TBQ, though, is forced back into Lee Sin, and it's Varus mid once more.
They do not have enough damage right now. If this game goes past 30 minutes, you may as well be over, unless LGD are about 7,000 gold in the lead, because they're not tanky themselves, with the exception of TBQ. You can pretty much ignore the Lee Sin after the kick is down. And Varus, very poke heavy. If you build attack speed, he shreds tanks because of the W percentage health damage, but right now we're seeing poke heavy Varus come through, and there's just so much hard engage.
Yeah, I mean, he's not the best tank buster as an AD carry from the bottom lane at the best of times, although can do decently. And in this situation, I agree. He's basically, you know, the AD version of AP Kog'Maw. This as well, Dade just hovering Azir. It's been left completely open, and M3, I don't know if they could have asked for a better draft, especially given what LGD have picked themselves. Dade's going to last pick Azir, and M3's draft looks amazing.
And how safe do they look right now? There is no way you are running through an Alistar Sejuani. Nah. And then if you do manage to get onto Dade, I don't think they have the burst potential to kill him. The Emperor's Divide just going to come through, shove everyone back around for a second time. And the thing about Urgot right now is he's very good in lane after about level 4. Once he gets stacking up there with the tier, will do a lot of damage late game. And if you've only got priority targets, Urgot's bad at shredding through everyone, But if he locks onto one person in particular, he kills them very quickly.
Well, let's go through these lineups again here. Maokai versus Na in the top lane. That's Acorn versus Looper. Moving through the jungle. Again, a lot of jungle bans here. TBQ ends up with Lee Sin. I don't think Condi's won the draft here. He's got Sedwani for his jungle.
Yeah, he certainly has. We've been, I guess, criticizing Condi for that pickup. TBQ grabs it. Godvi, he's gone back to the Varus against Dade, who has got a comfort kit pick there in his ear.
Yeah, we've got Imp back on Kalista. That's maybe the big X factor here for LGD versus the Urgot, though could be a bit tricky, especially come ultimate times as POL. No Bard this time, but as big POL champion in Thresh versus the Alistar.
Yeah, so we'll have to see how that bottom lane goes, because you see the very tanky lineup, Alistar, Urgot. And as we said, if Imp is able to really get rolling, I agree with you. That is the calling card right now. Get him in a lane swap, try and get him some items, and see if you can get into like the first and second dragon fights and build yourself an advantage. Because if they are able to do that, they might have a chance.
Well, we'll have to see if Imp and the rest of LGD can get rolling, as we're about to get straight onto the Rift. And welcome back as I regain my ability to speak in reasonable sentences. LGD versus M3 in their first game in their best of two for what's one of our last day here of a week two. It is week 2 spot. I'm going to let you talk because apparently I can't.
Yeah, and the 5-man stack coming through from LGD, trying to catch out Looper on the top side of the map. See how that one works out, because Looper, he's in the back end of the bush, although he has been spotted.
Yep, gonna get spotted by a sapling. Oh my god, that hook was nuts. Looper forced to flash away, does get watered out, but makes it safely to the turret. As LGD, they're thinking about a 5-man dive. Never mind the thought, they're going straight in here. Looper gonna get aggressed on the Q lands, and first blood goes to Godvi.
Yeah, Godvi able to pick that one up. Will be able to go back, pick himself up a longsword or some boots if he wants to, and that's probably the best start they could have hoped for because of 3 things. Looper, no flash. Repeat gank, very easy. Bounce skilled first. No bully potential coming out against the Maokai lane now. Or if he's in a lane swap, he's even more screwed. And all of a sudden, the mid laner superstar, Godvi, has been able to pick up an extra longsword to go into lane against Dade. So LGD really getting a great start.
And Looper just a little too slow to level that E and hop away on the Gnar. Gets picked out of the air by POL's hook. And first blood for LGD as they are in the top side. Imp prepping those sentinels, looking through the top side of M3's jungle. And they are going to get a successful looking, no successful lane swap. If they wanted 2v2, that's what they've got.
Yeah, so they're going into the 2v2 lane matchup here, and it's not what they want, because you can see they're starting a freeze up there, but all of a sudden that's going to be ruined because Alistar and Urgot appear. So we'll have to see exactly how it works out here.
Always curious to see how Urgot does in the early levels, because Kalista can certainly get ahead at level 2 especially. TBQ as well going to take away the red buffs, so Condi in danger of getting 3 buffed here depending on what information he has access to, but seems like he's going down to the bottom side as Akon gets low but does not die to the wolf camp.
Yeah, and wow, TBQ actually stopped at his Raptors. You feel like he could have just done a straight red to red and been completely fine, because the teleport will come through. And I like that you mentioned the level 1 out of Urgot. The way you seem to win level 1s, although he hasn't been able to do it this time, is you just sit there and spam Qs at the wave, kind of like how you used to win level 1 as Ezreal, and try and shove out harder than your laner. But the problem is his range is just too short, and Imp playing up nice and aggressive, looking to punish.
Yeah, especially with a Thresh, they're always threatening. It's just a little too tricky. Level 2 has been hit for LGD. Hook does land onto Love CD, but just a bit of harass coming through. Actually, good damage there. That's so much damage, always so much from Kalista.
Yeah, especially with the empowered auto attack that comes through from the Thresh. So have to be a little bit careful if you are an Alistar. And this is the lane that Alistar has always struggled in, because his percentage health, he has a very large health pool by himself. And then the double range always messes with him being extremely melee.
Yeah, this is going to be probably a better example of Alistar's landing, maybe hurting him a little bit here. SMLZ will start to win the lane potentially if he can get a couple levels, but we'll see how that develops in the top lane as we move through. Looper down the bottom, safely getting farm here. So actually the lane push back in for LGD. Acorn getting star for farm, and it's Looper actually, despite no flash, and skilling E at level 1. It's getting good minions already early on in the game.
Yeah, he's doing okay. The lane will push back, and, you know, that was just Acorn being extremely careful because he realized that he's already ahead in the lane, so he doesn't want to risk it at all. So Looper, that lane will reverse fairly heavily, and now he needs to be careful because Lee Sin's on the right side of the map.
Yeah, the TBQ does need to get some things going early. We've seen this a lot from both of these junglers, honestly. They seem to favor Lee Sin. It's one of their preferred champions. Have had decent games on it. Condi, especially in recent memory at least, has gone off on the champion in one particular game in this season, but It's going to be up to TBQ now to try and get it done, and Condi so far has had an unmolested early jungle farm.
Yeah, and double reverse, like, huge wave pushes are coming through from both top and bottom right now, and TBQ hasn't responded to either. Level 3 Lee Sin generally is when you want to start ganking, but he's just power farming the jungle. He's even going to pick up the Gromp for his trouble. He's not going to get a gank in at all at the start, and, you know, this is Sejuani's favor. If you can just farm as Sejuani, you're always going to be happy in the early game.
TBQ level 4 thinks about it, but doesn't quite go to the top side, so they'll both continue farming. Condi has already gotten his Trailblazer, so getting through the jungle a little bit quicker, and TBQ, I actually like this choice, a bit more Snowball, although you wouldn't think of it at first glance. An early sight stun for Lee Sin.
Yeah, so he picks it up, looking to maybe get some deep ward and start tracking. They're going in.
Yeah, Love City gets the pulverized. SMLZ gets hooked though. Imp flashes out of the headbutt, but PYL's taking too much damage. Gets ignited, flashed away, and a good early gank from Condi.
Yeah, so all summoner spells used in the bottom lane for really just Love CDs, and that's always going to be in the favor of Alistar. And you just see the pressure that SMLZ can put out early, although a good gank from Condi. TBQ now trying to respond.
Oh, that ward just there in time so they can see PYL trying to line up a hook, but Condi's already back. Urgot and Alistar are back against their turrets as well, so TBQ just a little late to try and get that kill.
Yeah, and TBQ, you know, he's in a funny position because right now the lane's reversed back yet again, but bottom still so overextended, although he's caught Condi.
He's got a level lead there. Good Arctic Assault actually just gets him straight to safety.
Yeah, and that was, once again, now he's stuck on the wrong side of the map, wants to be near that Nah, who still hasn't got summoner spells, and maybe going for a mid lane gank, but they could. I really feel that if you got someone like Looper who you know wants to play aggressive and you let him survive the first 5 minutes after his flash is burnt, then you've done yourself a little bit of a disservice.
Yeah, you can see Dade playing so far back as well, knows that TBQ is trying to gank him through that top path. So instead, TBQ will just get the Raptors. A decent takeaway here, but Condi's on the Gromp, still farming away. The Scuttle Crab's up as well on that side of the map. So again, Condi just farming, N3 playing safe in the early stages of their lanes, and a good gold lead for LGD early on just from the first blood and a bit of CS, but that's not going to be too much here at 6.5 minutes.
Yeah, and you know, you feel that, yeah, they're in the lead. They've started to do the things that they need to do at this point in the game, but you automatically think, look how tanky the M3 lineup is. If this game goes anywhere near late, they're going to be completely fine with how the start's gone, because really, they should have been punished a hell of a lot more than what they are, and they're just starting to farm up. They've got their tier, they've got the Trailblazer. All of a sudden, Condi and SMLZ, the two that really need to get farm on them, they're already going. Looper's completely fine now in this lane against Acorn. Summon a spell back up on his way to a Hex Drinker. So overall, this is going to be, yeah, sure, it's not perfect because they gave up first blood, but better than it probably had any rights to be for M3.
I mean, we kind of talked about it in the draft. With what's happened here is Dade good poke actually from Godv. And we can see why the Varus is appealing. That poke damage is just silly.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's on a very low cooldown. He just shoves repetitively really well. Dade probably going to have to stick around for another lane now, and that's not a good thing because blue buff now heavily under fire. Actually, they're going to look for a dive.
Yeah, PYL is going to try and line up a hook. That's a great ward there from Dade to spot out PYL and Acorn, but they might still fancy a dive. Condi and Alistar are in the area. That's Love CD roaming down from the top side, but Dade is going to clear out the minions as it push into the tower, and this is a great move from LGD. Swap your laners back down and take the dragon.
Yeah, it certainly is. So they're going to get blue. They're going to get dragon. So completely agree. Now LGD have started accelerating the game, and this is what they need to do because they've got relatively good siege. They can push in very early, and you know, with Imp, if he can get any semblance of a lead, we'll be able to take over the game, and they are looking to get the first dragon as well.
I mean, it's so weird to think about Urgot versus Kalista and honestly say that Urgot needs a bit more time to get going than Kalista does, especially in the early levels.
Yeah, you know, I'm of two minds on Urgot. I look at some Urgot players and I think, wow, he really needs the Brutalizer and tier before he starts winning lanes. But other Urgot players are just so good at hitting the acid and then getting the chunks through that you think this guy really is the early game bully. But, you know, he's going to be able to bully Maokai just as much as you would bully the Kalista. And maybe it's important to get the solo tank behind, and that's why they've let him up there.
Maybe. I mean, SMLZ farming away just fine, going to stack up the tier as well. First dragon did go to LGD as Love City is actually rotated in to form a dual lane here with Looper. Mini, no, not too bad. Got a Hex Drinker here as well, so we'll feel reasonably safe, all things considered, even against Kalista and Thresh. And with Alstay here to support him, Looper going to join in and be a very kind of weird semi-AD carry.
Yeah, he's going to be a ranged carry at least at that. I kind of don't agree with the Hex Drinker coming through. It's only for Maokai, and, you know, maybe that's why they swapped the Maokai away, just because of the fact that everyone else is doing a lot of AD damage. So would have liked to see something like a Phage early out of Looper, maybe even the Frozen Mallet, although I don't really like as an item. But when you have the ability to go extremely tanky and also be a damage source, it's always a good thing. But he instead goes for the Hex Drinker because he doesn't like the Maokai matchup.
I mean, I think he just wanted to bully Akon, so it was a smart swap from LGD. Didn't opt for, you know, something safe like a couple Ruby Crystals. As TBQ with his flash up and his ultimate going to come into the top lane and try and gank this Urgot.
Yeah, and you see a Pink Ward had been laid down, so they know he hasn't been spotted, and all of a sudden that's a lot of CC that will come through onto Urgot, although he has his ultimate as well.
A good intuition from Condi actually rotating in. W, great there, and TBQ going to get chunked up. Needs to pop the ulti. M3 going to teleport in there as well. Swap comes in onto Akon. Looper's going to join in as well. Akon's taking the turret. That's the first kill down, and TBQ just gets out to not be the second.
Yeah, and that's a definition of a really bad dive. Even if Nah hadn't have come in, they definitely were getting at least 1-for-1 there. Instead, Looper's teleport might actually cost them more, because the turret's going to fall in the bottom lane, although Imp starting to proxy farm, maybe doesn't want to take it straight away.
He wants to push it relatively quickly. Dade in the mid lane, they're getting chunked out. Good flash from Dade, keeps him safe, but Godby, all of that poke finally adding up. They traded ultimates and Godby's out ahead.
Yeah, and that was Godby using the Ghost to really hunt Dade down after Dade had used the ultimate. And that's just the power of the double summoners. Dade should know this. He bought it into popular meta with AP Cogmore when he was running around the Rift. And, you know, this is something that he needs to be careful, although now Imp's caught out.
Oh, Love City does get pulverized. SMLZ's going to come down, nails the Noxian Corrosive Charge because he just gets delivered on a silver platter. And Love City going to get the kill with his Ignite.
Yeah, he picks up the kill there, and PYL coming around the corner, maybe looking for a return gank. But that was just intelligent play. Good flank coming through, recognizing that they had no ward coverage because of how Imp was playing, and able to pick up a kill for his team.
Nice stuff there, but I think we saw this from Godby yesterday on the Varus. 112 to 81 CS is a fantastic early lane for the Varus, but he was playing against the LeBlanc. He had Barrier as a summoner spell. Like, Varus getting to be a bully and a poke champion in this lane versus having to play defensively is just night and day as far as his lane effectiveness goes.
Yeah, it's certainly really good for him, but wow.
Yeah, TBQ gets SMLZ, so actually manages to pick him up in the bottom side. Love CD actually in trouble as well, potentially, but has his ultimate. Should be just fine. Flash Hook's going to go in. Love City cleanses it off there with his ulti. And TBQ is going to chase, but Alistar pretty hard to kill.
Yeah, that's certainly optimistic. They're just trying to get down as much harass as possible. It's about sending a message sometime, and they definitely were able to do that as the Urgot, he was starting to get rolling 1-0-1, but then gets shut down there by TBQ, and now they're going for another dive onto Dade, although he might go aggressive.
Yeah, Condi's great positioning here. Dade's going to move in. Condi gets the knock-up. Ulti's down as well, but Godby takes out Dade, and the rest of LGD are here instead. Should have gone a bit earlier, maybe. Acorn flash twisted events. Condi called out, goes down to TBQ. And this is what LGD needed to do, snowball the early lanes.
Yeah, and unfortunately it was on Godby right there because I wanted to see where was Dade's E because he didn't use it at all. Could have got a shield for himself. Looked to get things in play in a two-part move instead of just using the E to travel around. In the end, he falls down, costs them a double kill, and LGD, they've started to roll through the mid-game. This is where we said they needed to get going because realistically, they will get outscaled.
And now here comes TBQ. Looper, great hop that gets into safety, but TBQ nails him with a Q. Meganar coming, and yep, LGD back away instantly.
Yeah, throws a house at one of them. Once again, just trying to stay healthy in this lane. He's 6 CS up. Looper's having an absolute fine time after a bad start. And 2,000 gold, definitely a good advantage. They've got the turret in the bottom lane. They had the first dragon as well. LGD doing what they need to during this early game. Godby especially, 50 CS in the lead. Going to be very terrifying at this point in the game, especially with all the CDR he's picked up. Dade not having a good time at all. And maybe they can ride Godby's early game power into a good mid game and try and carry this one through.
I mean, that's ideal for Varus as far as I'm concerned. So it's good that he's certainly gotten ahead. And we mentioned Dade's champion pool has grown. We'll actually mention it in a sec.
Yeah, so this is a replay of where TBQ was able to catch out SMLZ. That was a very confusing flash, and he got kicked in the head.
Yeah, Urgot just kind of hanging out in the wrong place. Again, no tower to fall back to, no wards coverage as Godby steals away the blue buff there as well. And the Varus getting going is always good news for a player like Godby.
And 60 CS ahead as well as the turret. That's an absolute clinic put on in the mid lane. And Dade, We said that he's starting to piecemeal it back together, but wow, that's a laney face from hell.
And as I was saying, Dade's champion pool, it's certainly grown, but it's nothing compared to, say, Godvi or Pawn, who play almost every champion in the league. And it hurts Dade here. His Azir pick was quite predictable in this spot, and Godvi clearly felt confident in the matchup. Okay, maybe Dade doesn't have that much experience playing against Varus. It probably means he's just not playing enough solo queue, to be honest with you. But Godvi's clearly comfortable. He's smashing Dade now in this matchup, and that hurts Dade because he's comfortable on this champion. He's fallen horribly behind.
Yeah, so this is something that he was taking last season very comfortably and was performing really good on it. So definitely agree with you. Falling this far behind, not going to be good for the mentality, at least for the mid laner of M3. And Lupa, he's the only person really still ahead in this game.
And this is maybe M3's thing, is that it feels like they can't all get together at the same time. You know, someone's going to have a bad game on M3, it feels like. Everyone's doing well, maybe except Dade in this game here. And Lupa, after a couple of bad games yesterday, looking great now in the early stages. I mean, LGD have done a great job to snowball, don't get me wrong, but M3, it really is a matter of consistency for me because they just never all seem to be on the same page. And LGD, a second dragon comes through, 3,000 gold ahead now, starting to really get carried away.
Yeah, they certainly are. And look, don't get me wrong, their composition's still really hard to execute because they've got 2 AD carries, both that don't scale with crit, that are looking to take down 4 tanks, which is just going to be an absolute nightmare in the late game. But if they continue to ride the power spikes of both Kalista and Varus through this mid game, they'll be able to run away with it before the 25-minute mark when they're weak.
And we talked about M3's drops. It looks great here as Lupa in a 1v2. Akon and Im coming in. Flash after the Nara ulti. Going to create some distance, but Condi's had to fight TBQ and Godby and PYL. That's one too many, unfortunately, there, and TBQ is going to get the kill.
And what fantastic map movement to send 5 people top lane, recognizing the bottom and mid had both been shoved. Picked himself up a kill, will also get a turret, and M3 aren't going to get anything in response. Everything is available. Akon can just teleport down into that bot lane, stop the shove. Already, Dade feels like he's overextended because he can't see the top side of the map, and LGD are just playing circles around M3.
They are. I mean, and for me, all of this that's happening is a cascading effect of the mid lane, actually. Dade falling behind. Azir, usually really good at keeping his turret up. I mean, apart from the one he makes, of course. Normally able to keep that mid turret up for quite a long time, but it's fallen early. Urgot has basically no wave clear as far as AD carries are concerned. And you see he's pushing down, trying to get some farm, but he's not pushing the waves back fast enough. And that's giving LGD all the room to rotate around.
Yeah, so now LGD, they've got good presence over the whole of the red side of the jungle. M3, they've tried to respond with some wards, but there's sentinels roaming through there. Dade feels like he can't move anywhere. And TBQ having the run of the map of Lee Sins, 3-0-1, hasn't started to fall off yet. This isn't a 25-minute game so far, and looks like it's going to be well and truly on the downhill side until then.
I mean, 4,000 gold up's good. Lupa gets knocked up by Fates. Got PYL, Box playing a hook, landing in there as well as Im going to keep hopping through. The hook actually missing from PYL. Mini now though, Riddick was pissed. Im's going to dive in, gets the run, forced to flash, Headbutt's going to save him. Pulverize will keep Lupa just fine. The lantern there, but it runs out on Imp. He's now tanking turret hits, but they can't even kill him.
Yeah, so they don't get anything up there, but that was a lot used out of Imp as well as PYL. The heal, the flash, the ignite, and Lupa did live, so you take the small wins sometimes. You didn't get really anything in your advantages. Condi's dead.
Oh, great ult there from Godby. Good response from Condi. Dade puts him into the tower with the Emperor's Divide, but he doesn't have any mana left. He's forced to flash forward, tries to get the kill. Barrier pop from Dade. Condi's in as well. Love City joining in to be the hero once more, but TBQ gets the kill. There's the trade coming in. And Dade made all the plays that he could and still died.
Yeah, he just ran out of mana there in the end. Hasn't been able to grab his blue buff. LGD have controlled that side of the jungle the entirety of the time. Godby with some good reflexes on that flash over the wall, then used the ghost to get out of range. Will be on cooldown for quite some time now, but it's the little things. TBQ actually auto-attacked a minion there instead of Dade. Might have been able to get out. Maybe not, but did keep him in danger for a little bit too long, and they were able to get the return kill.
Yep, trade does come through there, but flash cooldown not going to be as bad as you might think for Godby. Actually has early distortion boots sort of as a snowball luxury snowball choice as Akon. Going to find Love CD with actually does have his ultimate, so bit optimistic. Imp's going to join in. That will force the ulti out from Alistar, and Love City is going to pop it and run away.
Yeah, so not really much coming through there. Important ultimate burnt there with the Alistar. Now it's a lot easier to dive the M3 lineup, but still probably don't want to do that. Only 19 minutes into this game, they'll just deny another blue buff.
I mean, Alistar's sort of the easiest example to illustrate there is that is the potential future problem for LGD. Alistar, okay, his ultimate's great. You're not going to be able to kill him when it's active, but that will eventually be true of almost all of M3 once they get their items. So you can see where the problems might start here. It's just a matter of LGD have gotten themselves so far ahead early on, about 4,000 gold up, that moment's going to come even later in the game that M3 might like. And if it can keep snowballing like they are already, it's just, as you said, it's not going to matter.
Yeah, exactly right. So this is the pace they need to continue to play the game at, though. They need to take the third dragon, need to start forcing fights, because if they're able to do that, that's going to be threat coming through there for LGD, and that's on the game. Yep. However, if M3 are able to capitalize on just one mistake, delay that by 5 minutes, they will get tanky enough. Frozen Heart about to come through from SMLZ. Randuin's Omen has been finished. You see probably a Frozen Heart or Randuin's coming through for Condi as well. This M3 lineup against an all AD lineup is going to become huge.
Yeah, they know they have one job here, and it's just get tanky and then just stop LGD from ever being able to effectively teamfight you. But on the other side, LGD, Godvy's basically built as far as items go. I think the luxury distortion chant comes from the fact that you don't get that much stronger here as far as you can see.
That was one Q that just did half of Dade's health. And, you know, I'm going to actually call M3 out on something. There's an item in the game that if you are against auto attackers is the most cost-effective item ever. It's called Ninja Tabi. Takes away a lot of damage, and no one has picked it up yet against double auto attackers, especially Kalista, who wants to go pretty much that auto attack build, stack up the rend. Hasn't been able to be prioritized at all. Condi being caught out a little bit. Not much happening.
Yeah, pretty tanky. Not enough damage sources in the area to be able to get the pick off. And SMLZ has to play pretty far back. He was actually on top of some nicely placed wards, I believe, from LGD. Maybe just a minion wave there. It's not quite in range. No, it is in range, excuse me. But it'll clear out what minions he can. Get his farm up, build towards that Frozen Heart. Maybe Ninja Tabi is coming through. I think Looper, who does just pick it up, has now got the item there. But Dragon's up again for LGD and M3. Can't really have a hope of getting in the area.
Yeah, so Ninja Tabi for everyone and Frozen Heart. I think M3 are in a reasonable position to fight maybe their next Dragon after this. They'll be able to fight for number 4 in about 6 minutes when that's one up. Around the 30-minute mark, they should start getting some HP on their big tanky members. But red buff's been picked up by him. He's starting to really get farmed up as SMLZ's caught.
Yep, going to get caught through there. PWL going to ride in as well. Swap does come in. Alistar trying to save the day, but not this time. Gets the double pulverize after headbutt, but Imp might even keep chasing. Ultimate is up for Alistar. Dade's come as well. PWL, massive hook onto Dade, and he flashes away. Knows he can't fight right now, but a clean kill as Condi in his own jungle. Godvy just needs the snipe, but he doesn't have an arrow up in time.
Yeah, so nearly was able to nail it off the back there as Dade face checking TBQ.
I mean, TBQ didn't have his flash, but I think he was trying to ult somebody back in. Imp, though, going to push the wave up. Doesn't even have his Hurricane completed yet. It can't be far off. Godvy going to pressure the tier 2 in mid. Imp will do the same on the tier 2 in bottom side. And M3 going to lose structures on 2 different places in the map.
Yeah, so mid definitely going down. Probably not bottom as of yet, although Imp starting to really put some work in down there. He'll get it. No.
The PWL series actually will get it now. Alistar can't defend on his own. SMLZ, little late to the party. Hook will miss there from PYL, but him just going to kite his way back and Love CD. He tries him out, but he cannot get in for an engage.
So 6,000 gold. I said if they're 7,000 gold up, they'll win. So getting very close to that mark now, LGD. Their offensive items are outpacing the defensive items coming through. Armor penetration built up for days out of the mid Varus. He's already got the Last Whisper and the Yomu's Ghostblade. So throw a little bit of attack speed on that. Deprioritize even getting the luxury item like the Bloodthirster, and I like it. It means he understands the windows that they have to win in. But it's still a race against the time, even as far ahead as they are.
I mean, mid-Varus in particular just doesn't get that much stronger than this. He actually reminds me a lot of old Jace, who just had a very similar looking build, charged up his tier, got his Muramana. That's probably the one thing he's missing is the transformation. So spam a bit more Godvy, you'll get there soon. And an early Last Whisper and Brutalizer. And you're done. Even as a Ghostblade as a luxury item, Imp's item floor is only 2 items. Acorn's is 1, basically, with the Righteous Glory. LG are just playing with champions that peak so much early in the M3s, and when they get a lead, this is what they can do with their much more mid-game focused comp.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, now they can even focus around the Baron, because with things like the poke that will come out of Godvy and the objective secure that will come out of Imp, it's just so easy to leave Godby there, wave clear for days as Love CD caught.
Yeah, they're actually going in. He does have his ulti, so they don't overcommit to LGD, but Akon's in the bottom side, split pushing as his teleport done. Godby's level 15, and he's going to poke people out. That's Condi, fairly tanky member at this stage with a Glacial Shroud and a Cinderhawk, and that was about, what, 20% of his life?
Yeah, so they're just being chunked out here by the poke potential. And, you know, the longer they control this side of the map, they only have to do it for about 3 minutes. Then they know all the wards are out of the Baron. You see they're already pinging it. And this could be the go button. All of a sudden, Baron going to make it real easy to win a game with double AD.
Good pressure from Akon as well. They actually do have a ward in, and LGD haven't quite swept it up, but they've got great damage here between the double AD carriers. Everyone has hit their stride for LGD, and M3 might even be here, but I don't think they can contest. Never mind as Fate's Call going to come in. They want Dade. That's ridiculous damage from Godby. Hook lands in. He's trapped in a box, and TBQ is going to take him out. Love City caught in the backline. So SMLZ gets headbutted back into the team, I believe. A good ulti there's maybe going to save it, but it's not enough. Here is Imp. He gets the double. He's going to try and make it 3. Looper, great ulti. Imp is going to go down, but he finally falls, and that's a 4-for-1 trade for LGD.
Yeah, and in the end, it was PYL that went down, so they're going to be able to take this Baron easy. 8,000 gold, a Baron buff. LGD running over the top of this game, and, you know, M3, they can still maybe stall it out, but that timer has been extended by at least 10 minutes now.
And Baron, yeah, going to make this so tough here. About 9,000 gold ahead as well, our LGD, and the 4th Dragon is up in a minute 50. Nice work from TBQ as well. Of course, it wasn't Alpha ahead, but it was at least in Ultimate, but SMLZ just caught out of position, and Dade got destroyed by Poke.
Yeah, he certainly did, and you know, the amount of damage that Godby is currently doing, he's 3 levels higher than anyone on the map out of M3's lineup. And when you are that high, that's like 600 gold worth of stats by itself. Not to mention how much CS he has. He's 80 above the mid laner. And Dade's the next highest on the map.
Yeah,
There's
I mean, just
no
look
one
at
near him.
Just the gold differences there.
5,000.
12, yeah, that's a ridiculous gold lead. It's actually close to the 4. Dade's almost at 8K, but yeah, 12,000 to 8,000 if you want to sort of round the numbers a bit there. And yeah, Dade's obscenely far behind.
Yeah, so this game, very difficult. You know, even Imp, who's the next richest on the map, is very far behind. As we see the replay, Love CD goes in, but Dade just got caught up, and look how much damage goes through. And then the kick of Urgot back into the team just meant that the second threat was never there. SMLZ goes down, and Looper tries to save it with a really good Gnar ultimate, but didn't have it built up beforehand. In the end, just no follow-up because everyone was already dead.
Yeah, that's about it as Dade eats another Q. I feel like that's the story of this game here for Dade. Eating Barrett's Qs for days. That's SMLZ. Gets stowed by Akon. Dade's trying to go in. Imp, though, gets the first kill. Dade, decent ulti, gets PYL back, but he's already dead. Not enough health here for M3. 2 kills down already. Imp is dead, but Godby, a formidable secondary carry, and the rest of LGD just going to keep going. Another 4-for-1 trade, and this time the base is starting to fall.
Yeah, that will probably be game. Everyone 20 seconds away. Looper going to die.
Yeah, I mean, going to get poked out here. Godby, no, not enough just yet. Lantern goes out. Godby wants it, but Meganar's going to keep him safe, but Inhib's going to fall down. Turret might even fall, but the death time is quite low here, given that we're only 27 minutes into the game. Instead, LGD going to back off, clean their waves, maybe get a dragon, and then just push him for the last time.
Yeah, so Turret went down in the bottom lane for M3. They got their first of the game. That's something probably to write home about. But the scary thing about that fight is they tanked the turret the whole time. That was probably the perfect ultimate that could come through from Dade. Trapped 3 people under there. Imp tanked it the whole time. But Godby just does ridiculous amounts of damage.
I mean, Dade now has his death cap, so the plays that he has been making, if he starts to make, will have a bit more impact. But he's still so far behind. I mean, Godby doesn't need more damage, but is building it because he has money. He might as well. 4th Dragon goes down. Godby's actually the one to take it out with his Q. Not to mention the fact that Im's, Jesus, building a Black Cleaver.
Yeah.
That's sick.
That's a surrender vote coming through. M3 give this one up, and
I really wanted to see the Black Cleaver.
I can't blame them.
I'm sad. I mean, I can't blame them either, but can you imagine? I mean, already the damage was ridiculous. But can you imagine if Imp gets in there, Runen's up, Black Cleaver applies on almost everyone, and Godby just shoots an arrow in. He's happy, and he should be.
Yeah, he certainly is. You see him just giving himself a nice face massage. His hard work well rewarded in that game, but that was pretty clinical coming through from LGD. They isolated the lane swap, and Dade, he doesn't look happy. Don't blame him.
No, I mean, the game itself was a reasonable illustration, but I think the camera shots of the 2 mid laners there tell kind of the whole story of that game. Godby having fun, smiling away, kind of, you know, fairly relaxed after a strong Varus game, and Dade just just looking sad there. And again, Imp got Callisto, one of his signature champions, but it just didn't matter. He was a secondary carry in that game.
It was about a 5th carry. I'm going to call Godby like all 4. The damage dealt graph would have been ridiculous. The guy was just putting in work.